What's up guys, teamknl here, Kai, giving you a deck profile of the deck that I've pretty much been playing for the entirety of the last month of this format. So pretty much similar to how people have been going to goat control or whatever for to learn how to get better at the game. I decided to just do it in this meta with this deck. Basically with this deck is that you basically just learn how to grind out your games to where you, as a more skilled player, ends up winning. So pretty much it's like goat control, except your other opponent is usually playing derpy shit. So I mean, it's fun for me right now because I still manage to win out on top, even though things like Chaos Dragon and Dark Worlds, those somehow they play against me better, but whatever. So onto the deck. The deck is basically like a Chaos deck, but similar to ChaosStun, but for right now I'm just calling it Chaos because I have no idea what the hell it is. So it's really just Chaos anti-meta, so ChaosStun. So I'll start off 2 Doomcow and 2 Ryo. Pretty much Doomcow stops a lot of things in this format except for Frog Monarch, because Treeborn just rapes him. But he stops Dark World. They pretty much can't discard anything without him having to negate the card, and then pretty much Dino Rabbit can't get started unless they want to lose their Rescue Rabbit, or they just summon a Sabersaurus or whatever and try to beat face. So pretty much it just limits everyone's plays. Oh, and you summon this on a Raikou or whatever, and you attack directly. If they drop Gorz, then they are really desperate to get him off the field. And for Ryo, I don't really like him so much, but he is a light target and he's 19 beats, so I mean he's good. Plus he's good for the hero matchup, which Doom Caliber doesn't quite exactly do much for the hero matchup. So I mean that's good. Those are that. And then for the Lightsworn engine, since you need a little milling, 2 Raikou, 1 Lila. Remnants to plants back in the days. Pretty much the Lila is only 1 Lila because there isn't too much back row nowadays in this game. It's mostly just a few things go off, and even if there is back row, it's like chainable stuff like Reckless Greed and whatnot. So pretty much the Lila is just like meta call, in my opinion, just to hit a few cards that or to be a 17 beater that mills every turn. And Raikou, personally, I think he's a little slow for the format, but just because I'm learning how to play like better, I'm playing Raikou. But there isn't any other good monster that really mills that's a light, so that's that. And then 3 Tour Guide, obviously, and then 1 Sangan. Obviously, Tour Guide is a power play in the deck, obviously, plus it works well with a Chaos engine since you have lights already, and darks, and now you have a self-fulfilling dark engine, so I mean, it's good. Plus Sangan is one of the MVPs of the deck, so I mean, having a way to search him out instantly is really good. And then for the other floaters, other than Sangan, we have 2 Trooper and 1 Dialk. Troopers are easily really good in this deck because they work so well with so many things that you have. Also, another MVP of the deck is what these floaters will work with, which I'll get onto later. But Dialk, normally I don't summon him to use his effect. Mostly I usually just set him if I have a banished card already, or I prefer to mill him because then I can just abuse him with another card, the other MVP of the deck. So those are the floaters. And when Debris Dragon, you have multiple targets. Double Card Trooper is your main target, but you can also target Raikou or a Battle Fader if you really need to, or a Effect Veiler if you somehow have another play to where you can synchro. And the fact that you can't use level 4s as synchro materials is mitigated now because of you can use Exceeds now. So if you have a level 4 in the field, you can summon him and Exceed if you really needed to. But that's just it. Alright. Oh man. Alright, for hand traps, 2 Veiler, 2 Battle Fader, 1 Honest, and 1 Gorz. Pretty much, I'd play triple Veiler, but, you know, I personally hate the card, just the fact that if you don't draw it, then you're pretty much fucked. Pretty much destroys me, because this little bitch always gets always somehow gets milled with charge or something. So, I mean, it's whatever. And then honestly, my bad. Honestly, this card is really, really good, especially with Ryo and the Gorz token, and whatnot. But pretty much, Honest is just really, really good, especially with BLS. And then we have Gorz, because Gorz stops a lot of derpy stuff, and 2 Battle Fader, since he's searchable with Sangan, which you're going to be abusing Sangan searches a lot with this deck. So, I mean, that's always good. And last we have the Chaos Monsters, 1 Caius, 2 Sorks, 1 Dark Arm, and 1 BLS. The Caius is really just tech, similar to how plants would tech 1 Caius or whatever. Pretty much you contribute Sangan to get a plus with him, to get more pluses with him than he would normally, or you could just use Battle Fader, which is very often. More often than not, I end up saving him for, what's it called, when I'm trying to make an explosive play, since this deck doesn't really have very many explosive plays. But typically, he'll be able to capitalize off a Battle Fader or something if you mess up. Then Dark Arm is Dark Arm, Sork is Sork, and BLS is BLS. So, I mean, Chaos Engine, you kind of gotta have those things. So that's it for the monster lineup. I don't remember how many monsters it was. I think it's like 26 or something like that. But anyways, onto the spells. 1 MST, 1 Heavy, 1 Charge, 1 Reborn, 1 Avarice, and 1 Dark Hole. So, just 1 MST, because similar to Goat Control, I want to learn how to correctly use the MST. So pretty much the MST is just like, is tech, kinda, even though it's technically a staple. But I mean, the way you use MST is pretty much with the deck you have to learn how to use MST, because you're only playing 1 copy and 1 Lila. So I mean, you have minimal spell and trap destruction, which doesn't really matter in this day and age where there isn't very many back row to be played with. But I mean, it's still there just for when you do have to fight the back row, and usually it gets milled anyways, so whatever. And then Heavy is Heavy, Charge gets your mill engine going even more. Reborn is Reborn, Avarice is Avarice, since your graveyard fills up really fast, and Dark Hole is Dark Hole. So that's the spells. And then for the traps, the main MVP of the deck, Call of the Haunted. Pretty much, Call of the Haunted is easily one of the most abusable cards in this deck. For instance, if you can just set a call, and if you have like Trooper or Sangan in the graveyard, and they try to MST it, then boom, you obviously +1 and whatnot. Or if they're scared to pop your back rows, you can make explosive plays by Call of the Haunting any like monster you have, like, or you can go for like Card Trooper, or you can get the Lila and pop some more back row. So I mean, Call of the Haunted is just really versatile in the deck. So I mean, you can even get Chaos monsters that you successfully summoned correctly. So I mean, having 3 Reborns in the deck is not a bad thing for me, especially since when the Reborns can plus. So that is that. And then 2 Torrential, stop derpy stuff, 2 Warning, and 1 Judgment. 2 Warning is Warning, Judgment, and Torrential, obviously. So that's the main deck, 40 cards. It's been working pretty well so far, and it pretty much, you need to be a skilled player in order to use it. You have to learn when to use your power cards and whatnot. So that's the main board, deck, whatever you want to call it. And then we have the extra deck. So for the Tour Guide engine, obviously, Tempo, Leviar, Giga Brilliant, Leviathan, and Acid Golem. Your main rank 3 support. I would have Zen mains, but to be honest, I don't even make them that often with this deck anyway. So I mean, usually it's one of these 3, and maybe a Leviar whenever I have a Lila or something removed from play. So Leviar adds some extra damage on board. But I mean, these 3 are typically the ones that I make. So I mean, it's whatever. Then for rank 4s, 1 Maestro, 1 Photon Pactyl Operative, 1 Utopia, and 1 Gemnite Pearl. I would personally take the Gemnite Pearl out for Zen mains if I had it, but even then I probably wouldn't agree with it. These two are really the only ones I make often with the deck, if I ever do make rank 4s, which sometimes happens. And Pactyl Operative is just to stop a Reaper, any Reapers or anything, so it's that. So those are rank 4s, and then rank 6s, because they do happen, 1 Exhibido and 1 Photon Strike Bouncer. Photon Strike Bouncer is Bouncer, and Exhibido gets some extra poppage going on, as well as plusage with some Sanguine action. So that's a lot to handle, but regardless. And then 1 Gaia Dragon for the Exhibido to make them safe. And then for Synchros, 1 Cataster, 1 Black Rose, and 1 Scrap Dragon. Black Rose is easily MVP, the MVP Synchro, since you can make him often with Debris Dragon and Card Trooper. And if you have a Sanguine, then if you have a Call, you can just plus even more if you have a Sanguine on board, or in the graveyard. So I mean, Black Rose is easily key to major destruction in the deck. I don't make Cataster too often. It's really only whenever I have a Veiler that I don't want to use, like I don't want to discard, or just call it a Haunted Veiler or something, and I have a Lila on board. Usually it's just to get rid of the Lila, because if you mill too much with this deck, then you can't grind out the game because you end up dying because you deck out. So it's whatever. Then Scrap Dragon is usually made off Gorz and Veiler. Sometimes I have to call it a Haunted, one of the pieces to make the Scrap Dragon, but that's whatever, because Scrap Dragon can then pop with the Call or whatever. So I mean, it works out nicely. He ends up being able to destroy free stuff, so I mean, it's good. And then 1 Gorz token because you play Gorz. Hopefully, this is what the art will look like for the token. So, yeah, we'll have to see though. And then for the side deck is really whatever you want, but it's just my personal preference right now due to the meta at my locals. But regardless, here it is. The 3rd Doomcow and the 3rd Ryo, and then a 2nd Lila, 1 Reaper, and a 3rd Battle Fader. Pretty much they are what they are. They usually cite them in respective matches, such as Heroes and Dark World, blah 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 blah. And pretty much the Reaper is just a good card to where when you're low on darks, you can just side them in so you can get some extra pokes. Since the side deck does have a lot of extra defensive traps, you can play Protect the Reaper in main game 2 and just keep poking and making your opponent minus. So I mean, that's that. So monsters and then spells, 1 Allure, 2 MST, and 2 Prohibition. I cite the Allure in for things I need the speed against, like Chaos Dragon, because if you don't have speed against Chaos Dragons, you are going to get blown out before you can even grind anything out. So I mean, that's that. MSTs is for back row hate, obviously, and Prohibition. I usually slide it in against things that obviously revolve around 1 card, such as Dark World or 6 AM, to name a few decks. So I mean, 6 AMs you obviously hit the tuner, they can't do anything, and Dark World you hit Gates or Grapha, and they can't do anything. So I mean, that's that. So that's the spells. And for the traps, 1 Mirror Force, 2 Dimensional Prison, and 2 Bottomless. Obviously, when you're siding out most of your unwanted monster hate, such as, or not unwanted, like the cards that are going to be useless in game 2, pretty much you just side in a bunch of defensive traps according to what deck it is. Like obviously you wouldn't side these 3 against Inzectors, nor would you probably side Bottomless, but regardless. So I mean, it's just extra defense. So you can also play Defend the Reaper or whatever if you really wanted to. So I mean, that's the deck. Just tell me what you guys think. If you have any suggestions, and like, rate, comment, and subscribe. So teamknl out.